Hello crafty friends, welcome again to the Brutus Monroe channel. Today I'm making a card using the beach bum stamp from the May inspiration box, and I'm going to use this tall giraffe right here, and I'm going to use some Chroma Mists for this project as well. Let's get started. I have a A2 size panel of watercolor paper here, and let's move these things onto the side and get started. What I'm going to do is take some painter's tape and cover up about an inch on the left side. I want to leave that space clean so I can use stencil over there later. So I'm just going to cover up with blue painter's tape, and then we'll work on the right hand side of this panel. Let's start first with the yellow Chroma Mist, yellow orange it is called. I'm just going to put a little bit of that on the glass media mat over on the side, and then I'm gonna pick it up with my paintbrush and color the panel. I'm going to take some water here so I can wet the panel before we begin. Will help the Chroma Mist to blend nicely in the background. Next, working on the pink, I put a little bit on the paper and then realized it was really light, so I decided to just take the whole bottle and then spray right over the paper. Continuing on with the blue next, turquoise blue. Initially, I thought I'd leave some white space at the top and the bottom, but then decided to not do that and color the whole panel. So just went back and filled in the yellow at the top and filled in the blue at the bottom. I went back over the whole panel with another round of the same colors to make it more bright. I use the heat tool to help with the drying process a little bit. I'm going to use some anti-static powder all over to make sure it's nice and dry, and then I'm going to take the image of that tall giraffe along with the sentiment and place it right in the middle of that colored side. I'm using the clear embossing ink from Brutus Monroe, and then I'm going to use the Raven Black embossing powder for this image and sentiment. Since it's a watercolor panel, I prefer to stamp it twice just so that there's a clear impression and there's enough embossing ink to hold the powder. You can always clean up all the strays with a dry paintbrush, especially since it is black powder, it shows up. So make sure to clean up before heat embossing. Next, let's work with the stencil. Once it's heat set, I've covered up again. I'm using the same painter's tape to line up and cover up the right hand side of the image this time, and then I'm going to create a little hinge with the stencil. It's the heat wave stencil. And I started with ground espresso distress oxide ink, but it wasn't quite what I had in my mind. So once I was done with that layer, I decided to switch to black soot. Next, I wanted to heat emboss the sentiment over on the left hand side where we just did the stenciling. And so I took some anti-static powder and prepped that side of the panel. I took some clear embossing ink and stamped the sentiment with that. Since it's a clear ink, it's a little hard to see where I'm stamping, but I did it at an angle, and the sentiment says Hippie Soul. And guess what is about to happen? Whoops! My panel was not dry and I had been a little impatient with the whole stamping. But lucky enough, the clear ink wasn't very visible, and then I simply brushed it off with a dry brush and removed all of the embossing powder, and my panel was good as new again. So this time around I decided I'd just do the stamping with distress oxide ink over the stencil. I made sure I was stamping as close to the clear ink underneath as I could, so that the clear ink wouldn't be visible for the most part. Next, I use black soot again to ink up the corners a little bit as well, to give that distress kind of grunge kind of look to the card. Next, I added some yellow floss to it. And then I decided I want to add a bit more texture and interest to this card, so I added a little more of the distress oxide ink splatter over in the corners, and then I added some details with the white pen, jelly roll pen, and finally some black embellishments to finish off the card. And that finishes our card for today. I hope you like this card, and I hope you'll give this video a thumbs up. Don't forget to follow us on YouTube and hit that bell button to receive notifications of future videos. All the products in today's videos will be listed below, and I hope you have a great day. Bye, and see you again next time.